This car is a vibe. It's not just a vibe for you as the person behind the wheel, but in general, this car is a vibe. No matter where you go. Hello, this is Bichao and welcome back to my channel. Now I know that I have been super irregular with my content. Unfortunately, there have been ton of things happening and YouTube, for me at least, takes some time between filming, planning the shoot, filming and then after that editing. So it's been a little irregular because of that. I have not been able to manage the time, but if you know, I have been super active on Instagram. I am trying to keep both the channels alive and active, and YouTube also. I'm really trying hard to once again get back to normal pace with videos. I had this one video which I had planned for a very long time to give you guys an update on the W124 Mercedes-Benz. Good news is that the car is ready. The car has been ready for quite a while now, and there were a few things that went wrong in the middle after it got ready, but that have also now been addressed. So here's a quick update on the W124 1997 E250D, which is now completed in restoration. Just got the car washed. It looks nice and clean. It looks super sexy as always. I mean, I love this car. You have always known that I had the BMW, I have this, and I also have a Polo. And out of all those three cars, this by far is my favorite. Just to let you know, this car actually even drives and rides better than the Polo. That's how good this car is. It's got better suspension quality, it's so much more smoother, and despite having a manual gearbox on a diesel engine, which is not something which is very preferred with a lot of people because of course it's a little uncomfortable with a heavy diesel clutch, this car is still way more fun to ride, way more fun to drive in town as well as on the highways. Now, by no means do I mean to say that this is a fast car. This is in fact pretty much quite a sluggishly slow car, but once you get out on the highway, once you get it onto top gear, it actually starts moving quite decently. By slow, I don't mean that it's a slow car inherently. Once you get up to speeds on the highways, you can cruise in this car at 100 plus speeds. I have personally taken this car above 160 kilometers per hour, stable as a rock and still fun. But the acceleration, the mid-range is not so much fun because of course this is a naturally aspirated diesel. It's not a turbo diesel, so it doesn't get that mid-range, it doesn't get that desired low end from the engine. That said though, as I said, the car is now fully done up, it's fully complete. Now there still are a few things which are pending, like for example this metal panel popped off from here, so there's a notch which is back over here which needs to be put back in. That is one thing. I have ordered a set of tail lights for this car. This tail light got broken by me while I was reversing. This one is fine with no problems over here. So I need a new set of tail lights which are on the way. That panel needs to be fixed. It just needs a washer inside. That's going to be done very soon as well. Apart from that, mostly the car is done. Now, the main thing what I want you guys to know is that this has been a full mechanical restoration and not an aesthetic or not a cosmetic restoration. Because that is one thing about cars of this age. Finding mechanical parts is still relatively easy. The parts are also not very expensive. They're easy to find and source, and they can be with you in like a week and a half's time. But on the other hand, the cosmetic parts are really difficult to find. For example, these bumpers. These bumpers are something that you'll probably have a really hard time finding, and even if you do, these are not cheap. These guys are going to cost you anywhere between 25 to 35,000 rupees for one bumper in ABS plastic. If it is made in fiberglass, which is made as a replica of the original bumper, then you probably find it for much cheaper, let's say about 12, 15, below 20,000 rupees. But if you're looking for an original ABS bumper, that's going to cost you quite a lot. And of course, the availability is also not going to be very readily available. So that is one more thing. So what I've done to get this car mechanically restored is work on things which matter most when you are driving this car on a day-to-day basis. Firstly, that includes suspensions. The suspensions on these cars have been replaced. The fronts are original sacks. They have been completely replaced with a brand new set of suspensions. The suspensions are new, the lowering arms are new, the bushings are new, the mountings are new. At the back, however, we kind of diagnosed that the rear set of suspensions are still fine, they're not a problem. So we changed the bushing, we changed the arms and everything else. The struts themselves have not been changed, they are still original, and as you can see, they are still maintaining good height. At the same time, when I drive this car, I know that the suspensions are still giving good compression as well as damping. So they did not actually require to be changed. Apart from that, there was also a little bit of an issue with the tensioner on this car. As I said, the tensioner of this car needed change. So we've got a new tensioner that has been changed. The entire rocker arm of the tensioner and the pulley has been changed. Apart from that, there was a little bit of a leak with the fuel pump. That also has been fixed. And on the inside, there was a little issue with the gear linkages. Basically, it was not shifting very smoothly. So basically, the linkages which take you from the gear shifter all the way to the transmission, they were not working properly. So that also has been replaced. There's a new set of linkage. And now the gear shifting is also much more fluid. It's much more easy as well. And while all of this was happening, let me just quickly get inside. It's raining outside quite a bit. So, as I was saying, while all of that was getting fixed, we ran into a couple of other issues. First of that was that the power steering pump actually started failing. So we had two options, either to get the power steering pump fixed, as in repaired, or source a brand new or a used power steering pump. So firstly, we decided we'll repair the pump. We tried repairing it. It worked well for about 15 or 20 days. So as I was saying, that's always the case with, especially with Mercs, especially parts like the power steering or anything which is related to the suspension or the steering components, is if you repair those things, they are not going to last you for a very long time. That is somehow a kind of general rule of thumb, especially when it comes to Mercs, BMWs, because these cars are slightly, the parts that are there for these cars are slightly more precise, and when you're repairing them and when you're trying to make them work, they really don't work. So the power steering which we repaired, it worked for a good 15 or 20 days, and then again it started giving issues. And in fact, the issues were even bigger than before, where it was completely drained out of all of its fluids. It was not retaining them, and the steering started misbehaving. It started becoming wobbly all over the place. So we decided we'll try sourcing a new steering, new power steering pump for the car. And we were thankfully able to. Big shout out to Thrive to Drive, aka Zorawar Singh, who's based in Chandigarh. He's a brilliant car collector, brilliant mechanic, and an overall awesome car guy by heart as well as with his collection of cars. So big shout out to him. He also has a very nice 300D, which is the higher variant of this. This is a 5-cylinder naturally aspirated diesel. That is a 6-cylinder naturally aspirated diesel, which he is on top of that turbocharged to put out some mad power and mad torque. I'll see if I can link his Instagram profile or his YouTube profile in this video's description somewhere. Do check him out. Crazy guy, amazing soul. I haven't met him yet. I've spoken to him on numerous occasions. I still haven't met him yet, and I am looking forward to meet him sometime very soon. So Zorawar was very kind and very helpful to source a power steering pump for this car and send it across to me. We got that fitted, and since then the power steering issues have been sorted out. Now the next issue came. The next issue was when I took this car all the way to Kolhapur and back. I basically went for a weekend to Kolhapur, and I thought, why not take this car? I've never taken this car out of Pune. It would be a good time that the car is completely ready, the suspensions are done, the tensioner is done, the gear linkage is done, and now the power steering pump is also done. I take this car for a quick drive to Kolhapur and back, which is 250 kilometers one way. So it was a 500 kilometers drive. The car went and came back without any problem. In fact, while I was coming back, I came back around 5:36 in the morning and the roads were completely empty. So I thought, all right, this is a great time to, open the tabs up on this car and see how this car actually performs on higher speeds. And the car actually did go really well. It wasn't abrupt because of course there is no turbo. So the acceleration is very linear, it's very smooth, but we did hit some mad speeds. Unfortunately, once I got back to Pune, the first thing as I stopped, I noticed is there was a little rattle. And I took it immediately to Auto Desir Performance. Those are the guys who take care of all the cars that I have. and I have given them some pain as well by keeping this car with them for about more than a month, and they were very kind and very generous not to yell at me or scream at me for doing that. But again, I took the car to Auto Desir. They immediately diagnosed the car and they told me that the alternator is short. So that was another issue which came up. Again, the hunt began. It took us about 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks basically we found a new alternator, thankfully, and the new alternator was then installed on the car. And that is where we are today, where this car once again is driving beautifully. I mean, this is an old car, so you do expect things like this to happen where, either something stops working or something goes out of tune. Stuff like that is always going to happen. It's a 27, 28-year-old car. I'm pretty sure quite a few of you guys who are watching this video aren't of that age yet. And when you wake up early in the morning, sometimes your back doesn't really stay coordinated with you. Back pain issues, we've all had it. So yeah, so it is kind of expected from a 27-year-old car, no? But that way, this car is still brilliant. I love each and every part of this car. This car is a vibe. This car is an experience to drive on a daily. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's not like the parts on this car just keep failing over and over again. No, it's just that these things, these maintenance issues were on this car way before even I bought it. That is one thing that I have also noticed about cars from Mumbai, is that people drive cars in Mumbai while really not maintaining them properly. They just do, jugaad, they just do quick fixes on the car so that they can just keep driving them around. And that basically builds up from one part to the other. Components keep failing and they keep getting repaired, and just वो काम चलाओ जुगाड़ू वाला काम है ना, वैसा चलते रहता है वहाँ पे. And that eventually ends up, when somebody like me who buys the car, it eventually ends up being their responsibility. I'm happy and I'm proud to say this, that I have taken that responsibility well, where I have not done any jugaad. I have got new or I have got replacement parts which have been working properly for the car, and I have installed them on the machine. And with that, now finally in July of 2023, this Merc is completely ready, and I am kind of daily driving this car on a day-to-day basis from office to home, and man, it is a joy. So I am going to quickly take you guys on a drive of my finally restored E250D W124. And unfortunately, it is not the best day to go out on a drive because it's raining like crazy over here, and I've just got the car cleaned and nicely detailed. Not actually detailed, but nicely cleaned. And it kind of hurts, every time you clean the car up and then it gets all muddy and slushy. But we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta do this vlog today and show you guys how this thing drives. Now, the first thing from the get-go, the biggest change that I have realized I want to tell you guys is how well this car drives. It's not that it wasn't a bad driving car, or it was a bad driving car rather before I got the suspensions and everything fixed, but now it's once again got its beautiful ride quality back again. That's the thing when you use original parts. I did not skimp on using original parts. There were suspensions which were much cheaper than the sacks that I have installed on this car. The sacks that I installed, I think they costed about 50 grand or 40 grand, somewhere close to that. But there are suspensions which are much cheaper than that as well. But we didn't do that. We didn't skimp. We used OEM spec components, and with that, what happens is, first of all, you get that original, plush, amazing ride quality, and also the components that you use, they are going to last you that long. So now with this new suspension setup, easily, I mean, of course, on Indian roads, suspensions are the one thing that takes most of the road's brunt. That said though, these suspensions, I am confident, are going to take care of me and my comfort in this car for at least the next 60,000-70,000 kilometers. It's the best investment that you can do, especially considering our bad broken Indian roads. The suspensions are the components that give you that comfort. As I said before, this car is a vibe. It's not just a vibe for you as the person behind the wheel, but in general, this car is a vibe. No matter where you go, either you're in your city or you're driving out on the highway or you're in the remotest of villages, the looks that you get, the kind of respect that this car gets when it's on the road is next to nothing. You take the latest Mercedes, you spend a crore, you get the latest Mercedes, you will still most probably not get the same respect that you get in this car, because you as a person, people consider you as one of those good guys, good from the heart guys, who's still putting his time, effort, money and everything behind maintaining a 27-30-year-old car. And people, from what I have seen and I have experienced driving around in this car, is people love classics. They, of course, they don't know half of the story behind maintaining them, keeping them running, but they love to see classics on the road. And that's probably because, you know, it reminds them of a different time, it reminds them of a different era, when some of those people were young, when some of those people, including me, had cars like this on our wall as posters, as, you know, cars that we would like to buy and own when we grow up, when we have the money. And that is the kind of connect most of the people have with cars like these. So when they see it out on the road, that nostalgia kicks in, and they just can't help smiling, they just can't help appreciating and giving you that nod of satisfaction from looking at this car. Apart from that, this car, while you're as a driver, this car feels great as well, because I said this before, I'm saying this again, this car is more comfortable than most of the modern cars today. Forget that I bought this car for, let's say, 4-5 lakhs or whatever. I'm not comparing the cost of this car to whatever brand new car is available at this time. I am comparing this car to maybe, let's say, a 20 lakh, a 30 lakh car even. You will still not get this level of comfort, this level of easy driving, cruiser friendly nature from the car at all. It's such a vibe. And trust me, I have had some really terrible experience with diesel cars, where I had a diesel 1.6 Vento, and that car basically made me swear that I am never ever going to buy a diesel manual sedan again. But yet here we are once again, after a good 8 to 10 years, I am once again in a diesel manual sedan. And trust me, this car doesn't feel the same way that car did. Although that car was faster because it had a turbo and everything, but this car still does not feel difficult to drive. This car feels so easy, it feels so maneuverable, it feels so nice and pliant on the road. So yeah, that was an update about the 250D. I know it's been a really long time, and I had kept all of you guys on hold for a very long time waiting for this video. I'm really sorry for it. Unfortunately, the timing was not matching for me to, you know, do YouTube as well as Instagram, and there were developments happening not just with this car but overall where I've been traveling and other things, which kept a lot of these updates at hold. I'm happy to finally put this update out for you guys, and I really hope that you guys stick around for more videos to come. I'm going to be as regular as possible on YouTube and bring you the fresh latest content from all across the country. Thank you once again for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around. I'm going to see you soon once again. Till then, ciao.